General Flynn warns that the next 72 to 96 hours may be some of the most dramatic and critical in American history. Hey everyone, Johnny here at Don't Speak News. I would agree with that statement. It probably will be some of the most dramatic and critical in American history, the next 72 to 96 hours. But not just for American history, world history. World history. This is going to affect the entire world, all these decisions that Trump and his neocon cronies are making behind the scenes here. And not just Trump, but around the world. The script is playing out. Once again, like I said before, they think this is their plan, the powers that be. But this is God's plan, and they're just, being manipulated accordingly. So here we go. Keir Starmer from the UK, he placed the UK cabinet on alert for a possible U.S. attack on Iran after emergency Cobra meeting. That's from the Financial Times. Then we have this from President Xi, this commentary. Check this out. President Xi from China says the world can move on without the United States. Have you ever heard him make a statement like that? Or any of these world leaders for that matter? I haven't either. 100 years ago, the British Empire dominated global commerce, commanding more than 20% of the world's wealth. Many believed its sun would never set. 200 years ago, France bestrode Europe's stage. Its armies feared, its culture envied. Napoleon declared himself immortal. 400 years ago, the Spanish crown reigned from Manila to Mexico, its treasure fleets groaning with silver and silk. The kings thought their glory would last eternal. Each empire proclaimed itself indispensable. Each was ultimately eclipsed. Power wanes, influence migrates, and legitimacy dies the moment it's assumed rather than earned. Should America forfeit the world's respect, it will discover what every fallen empire learned too late. The world moves on, always. And he's right. And I've been saying it for years now, that we've been watching a dynamic power shift from the West to the East. We've seen the industrial base of the United States and the West pretty much decimated and moved all over to the East and to Asia. So now we see everything's either made in China, made in Vietnam, Malaysia, so on. But like he said, the world moves on, always. And now it's really going to move on into a new age. The millennial reign of Jesus Christ is coming very soon. But anyway, that's for a different video. Now on this one, Trump, again, demanded Iran's capitulation. He said, we're not looking for a ceasefire, we're looking for a complete victory. That means no nuclear weapons for Iran. Well, too bad, they already have them. We're going to show you that in a second. I don't want to interfere either, but I've been saying for 20 years now, maybe longer, that Iran should not have nuclear weapons. They will use them. I'm sure they will, the U.S. president added. Trump also said that the Iranian nuclear deal is now more difficult to conclude than it was before, but the door to negotiations with Iran is still open. Sure it is. Sure it is. Well, like I said before, Iran's got nukes, and Putin and Russia just kind of confirmed that today. We'll get to that in a second. But Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, regarding the war in the Middle East, he said Israel's actions violate international law. We cannot sit back and watch. The right and wrong in the current situation is clear, and Israel's actions violate international law. We cannot sit back and watch the regional situation slide into an unknown abyss. The international community, especially the countries of the region, should continue to unite to form an international voice against the war. That's what Iran's been calling for all the Arab world, the Muslim world in particular, to unite against Israel. And they say an alliance should be formed between themselves and Turkey, Syria, and so on, Iraq. And now we have China calling for the countries of the region to do that as well, to unite to form an international voice against the war. Unreal. It's all forming up, isn't it? So Trump, he's ordered an attack on Iran, according to the Wall Street Journal. President Trump has ordered an attack on Iran, but has not yet given final approval as far as, when to go. That's why General Flynn said the next 72 to 96 hours, because it hasn't actually been The green light hasn't been lit yet. And Trump is reportedly waiting to see if Iran will give up uranium enrichment, and they will not. So, wow, it's all coming together, guys. Then we have this. I got this in my email this morning, sent to me by a subscriber. A new leak reveals Israel's Samson option, that's their nuclear option, includes American cities on a nuclear target list. This is from the Intel drop. Let's go over here real quick. So did you know this, that Israel has nukes targeted at American cities? Well, you do now, as this new leak reveals it. This Israel Samson's option includes American cities on their nuclear target list. And as you may or may not know, because it hasn't been very publicized in the media in the West, but a huge trove of documents released this week, reportedly obtained through a cyber attack on Israeli military intelligence servers by Iran, appears to confirm long speculated claims about Israel's Samson option, a last resort nuclear strategy to destroy the world if Israel's existence is threatened. Among the most alarming revelations, a list of nuclear targets that includes major cities in the United States and Europe. The files were reportedly released by Iranian cyber operatives and are currently being examined by multiple Western intelligence agencies. If authenticated, the materials could have profound implications for global diplomacy and nuclear stability. According to security analysts who have reviewed the leaked documents, cities identified in the alleged target list include New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and the NORAD Command Center in Colorado. Also named are Brussels, Paris, Berlin, Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran. So it also had Mossad VIP pedophile blackmail material in this on all these documents. But we have this along with it. Now, these documents outline a doctrine of mutual destruction, not limited to direct aggressors, implying that nations deemed complicit or passively supportive of Israel's hypothetical demise could also be targeted. Did you think they really gave a crap about America except for what it could give them? Money, arms, weapons, military training. Israel's just been bleeding America dry all these years to their own ends. And here are the documents. Obviously, I can't read Hebrew. I'll put the link up so you guys can peruse them at your leisure. So if you don't know what the Samson option is, I'll explain it to you as it's listed right here. It's named after the biblical figure Samson, who brought down a temple, killing himself and his enemies. The doctrine has long been rumored but never officially acknowledged by Israeli authorities. It's understood by some defense analysts as a form of extreme nuclear deterrence aimed at preventing any coalition from attempting to eliminate the Israeli state. This is not traditional deterrence. That's said one senior NATO defense advisor, speaking on background. It resembles a diplomatic suicide vest. If the files are real, it shows Israel is prepared to take the rest of the world down with it in the event of an existential collapse. Right here. They would use their nuclear-armed missiles to do more than retaliate against Israel's specific attackers, but would use their nuclear missiles to bring down the pillars of the world, attack Moscow and European capitals, for instance, on the grounds that their enabling or toleration of the eliminationist anti-Semitism made both the first and second Holocaust possible. And so they'll blame it on the West and then nuke them accordingly. Now, according to Israel's Ministry of Defense, they issued a brief statement in response, refusing to confirm or deny the information that Israel has a plan to nuke U.S. and European cities in a hypothetical future. They say, we do not comment on unverified intelligence leaks. Israel's national defense doctrine remains focused on maintaining peace and security in an increasingly hostile region. And there you go. I'll let you read the rest for yourselves. Wow. So Israel's our friend, huh? Our best friend in the Middle East, really? Not according to this. Not according to the intel that Iran got from them. Unreal. So before you go waving that Israeli flag and cheering them on, you might want to read this and think twice. Just saying, guys. Now, go along with that, Israel is still continuing the genocide in Gaza in spite of everything else, as Israeli forces have killed at least 70 Palestinians and injured hundreds more, and yet another massacre of people seeking humanitarian aid in Gaza, representing the single deadliest day at sites related to the U.S. and Israeli-backed aid scheme described by the UN as a death trap. On Tuesday, Israeli forces opened fire with tanks and other weapons into a crowd of Palestinians gathered in attempts to obtain aid in Khan Yunis. Witnesses said the tanks fired at least 2 shells onto a route used by aid trucks. Medical facilities reported being overwhelmed by the attack, as Israel has pushed Gaza's health system to near collapse after sustained attacks on hospitals and health sites, which they're also now attacking in Iran, by the way. I don't know what their obsession with hospitals is, but unreal. Health officials initially reported that 51 people were killed and later increased the total to 70. Al Jazeera reported video of the incident shows dead bodies scattered across the road, with one eyewitness telling Al Jazeera there were tens of thousands of people in the crowd and that children were among the dead. Of course they are. And so I'll leave the rest for you to read on your own. But have no doubt Israel is continuing the slaughter, the genocide in Gaza. And so, speaking of which, soon we probably won't be able to speak about this. Not only because internet's going to get turned off tomorrow because I don't have the money to pay the bill, but also because we're going into a major war and there will be extreme censorship. That's according to the health ranger Mike Adams over here on Twitter, or X, whatever they call it now. And this will be under a new Office of War Information, or OWI, for 2025, but it's not going to be named that. Following my previous post on this subject, I received confirmation that the White House is indeed working up a social media ban list, and they'll be rolling it out within days after the bunker buster bombs fall on Iran. The goal, of course, is to silence all dissent and control the narrative to be 100% pro-Israel. But unlike the way the Democrats achieved this by routing ban lists through the DoD and offshore NGOs and back to big tech, in this case, the bans will be handled domestically under the U.S. Department of State, citing national security as the reason. I'm told there will be many thousands of accounts banned across all major social media, and lists have already been largely compiled, and I'm sure I'm on it. So like I say, even if we keep the internet going, will I have a website or anything to go back to? I'll probably be locked out. I mean, I could be, if this all proves true. He says Rubio will have the list, and it's not a coincidence that Rubio is also currently serving as the National Security Advisor, meaning he has the access channels to push the censorship list through. No word yet on whether web domains will be seized by a state, but it seems possible. Yes, I've heard of that myself, that the websites will be seized by the State Department. So share this widely and push back against right-wing censorship in the name of protecting Israel's narrative. Every independent media journalist should loudly protest this, and we should demand that Trump denounce censorship and back away from this plan. But of course he won't, because it deals with Israel. Benz should soon be aware of this, and Jones, Carlson, and others, if they aren't already. Owen Schroyer, Harrison Smith, Scott Ritter, Judge Napolitano, Glenn Greenwald, etc. will, of course, all be on the list, as will anyone with any significant reach who questions the pro-war narrative. Well, they've got AI searching everybody out, so they're going to be able to find you if you're large, small, or indifferent, or in the medium. Doesn't really matter. YouTube will also be heavily pressured and censored, as they always are. This isn't the first time our government will have engaged in widespread wartime censorship, of course. From EBSCO, U.S. censorship and war propaganda during World War II, the United States implemented significant censorship and propaganda efforts to support its war objectives. As the conflict escalated, President Franklin D. Roosevelt recognized the need for organized propaganda and established various agencies, including the Office of War Information, the OWI, and the Office of Censorship. In a supposed democratic republic, right. These agencies aimed to disseminate information that bolstered public support for the war while suppressing dissenting views. Propaganda was also delivered through an array of media, including films, posters, radio broadcasts, comics, I would say cartoons as well. There's all kinds of World War II propaganda cartoons with Bugs Bunny in them. Just saying. It effectively mobilizing the American public and promoting wartime values. Iconic symbols such as Rosie the Riveter emerged to represent women's contributions to the workforce while promoting a unified national effort. The OWI coordinated numerous campaigns to encourage military enlistment and the purchase of war bonds, as well as to promote resource conservation on the home front. Simultaneously, the Office of Censorship worked to prevent sensitive information from reaching enemy forces, leading to a complex relationship between government oversight and media freedom. Complex indeed. Overall, this dual approach of propaganda and censorship was crucial in maintaining morale and commitment during a pivotal moment in U.S. history. So pray for freedom, pray for peace, and pray for liberty. It seems the tyranny has merely shifted from the left to the right, which it always does. But it's still tyranny and it's still extreme censorship. The left censored under the label of misinformation, and the right will censor under the label of anti-Semitism. Yep, that's exactly what's going on. It would be labeled anti-Semitic to oppose war. In other words, if you don't agree to bleed for the Zionists, you will be silenced. Decentralize rapidly. Shift to decentralized independent platforms. He doesn't know if Rumble will obey State Department censorship commands, as Rumble has been very strong in defending free speech so far, so we'll see. But now Trump's in office, so who knows? Torbo absolutely not given to censorship demands. BitChute would likely defend free speech as well, although they did cave in the UK. And he says Brighteon will remain fully in accordance with the First Amendment. And of course, Brighteon is owned by Mike Adams. He says this is going to get far more insane and ugly than any level of censorship during COVID. FYI. So there you go. That's what's coming. So whether I've got the funding to stay online or not, they may censor me out of existence anyway at some point. Maybe soon, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. I mean, this could happen anytime. Like he said, as soon as the bunker buster bombs start dropping on Iran, that's when they're supposedly going to implement this list and ban a whole bunch of us from being on social media. Well, we'll see. But that's what's being reported. And I just wanted to share it with you guys real quick. And then, last but not least, I've been telling you for a long time, Iran has nuclear weapons. Based on this article and other stories I've shown you. But this is the main one. Los Angeles Times from 1992. Iran-Kazakhstan nuclear deal reported. And at the time, the Associated Press was reporting that Iran had obtained at least 2 nuclear warheads that have been reported missing from Kazakhstan. The article, which cites a secret report from the Russian Foreign Intelligence Agency, again raises questions about whether the successors to the Soviet Union will be able to control their most dangerous weapons. The Europeans did not say how it had obtained the intelligence report. It quoted the report as saying several nuclear warheads vanished from this nuclear test site in Kazakhstan, which the Republic's president closed earlier that year. So there you go. That's what happened and when it happened. This was printed or posted back on May 1st, 1992. So Iran's had nuclear weapons for a long time. And this is around the same time that Netanyahu started campaigning against Iran being able to get nuclear weapons, when he knew darn well they already had them, or at least were in the process of getting them. I just saw a Twitter post earlier today that went through 30 years of Netanyahu ranting and raving against Iran not being able to get nuclear weapons, and they're still saying it. Trump is saying it, right? Why would they say that all these years, Johnny? Why would they drag this farce out when they knew Iran had them? Well, guys, it's kind of simple. Israel needed to keep the aid flowing in, didn't they? And they had to have some type of existential threat to justify all that aid coming in. See what I'm saying? Well, Iran's going to get a nuclear weapon. We have to serve as a deterrent to that, so we need your aid and blah, blah, blah. And they kept selling us this narrative over and over and over for over 30 plus years now. For over 30 years, Netanyahu's been selling this nonsense of Iran trying to obtain nuclear weapons when they've already had them all these years. But they had to keep the money flowing into Israel, and including the military equipment and the American military industrial complex back here in the U.S., they wanted that money too, because all that aid money ends up coming back to their coffers because the taxpayers in the United States pay for all of Israel's military support as well. So in order to keep that money train going, they had to keep this facade of, oh, we can't let Iran have nuclear weapon stuff going as well. Because like I say, it kept the money rolling in to Israel. That's why. And now I'm going to find this video from Israeli News Live where Putin talks about Iran not nuking Israel. Let's check that out quick. Now here's that report here from Steve over at Israeli News Live, where he says President Putin asked the Iranian president not to use nuclear weapons. And so let's read this description real quick. In a secret phone call between Russian President Putin and Iranian President Mossad Pezeshkian, the most sensitive topic reportedly discussed was the potential use of nuclear weapons amidst rising tensions. According to a report by Auto Popular ID, the Iranian President Pezeshkian reassured Putin that Iran would not use nuclear weapons despite global fears. Meanwhile, Israel continues to reserve the Samson option, as I just showed you, and there have been discussions among Israeli parliament members about using nuclear force against Gaza, as has been talked about before. President Trump and the Iranian government have both warned citizens to evacuate their respective capitals, Tehran and Tel Aviv, amid fears of imminent nuclear strikes. Patrick Lancaster, known for his on-the-ground reporting in Ukraine, adds perspective in this video as well. We pray for peace and an end to the suffering of the Palestinian people before it's too late. Well, I pray for peace as well, because Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers," but prophecy is unfolding in front of our eyes right now, guys, and it's not going to stop. So, anyway, prayed up and prepped up at all times, because all this could pop off at any moment. And like Mike Adams says, extreme censorship is on the horizon. And as soon as those bunker busters bombs start falling in Iran, the goal will be to silence all dissent and control the narrative to be 100% pro-Israel. And that's what's going on today, right here, right now. And that will be it for this particular broadcast right here, right now. So don't forget, don'tspeaknews.com. It's home base for all that we do. I put all kinds of stories here that we can't talk about anywhere else. And oh, before I forget, one of the more important stories. I mean, guys, there's just so much to keep track of. I mean, as I was telling Sarah Israel today when we were chatting in private, I said, I've got all these things to report, but I don't even know where to begin. So I just put them in saved messages on Telegram and pulled them up on the tabs and just began. That's all I can really do. But here's another story that was sent to me this morning from Andrew Korobiko over on Substack. The Brits and the Ukrainians are plotting to manipulate Trump into escalating against Russia. So don't forget about Ukraine. 2 false flag scenarios are being cooked up in the Baltic Sea. To this end, according to Russian spies, Russian Foreign Intelligence Agency, the SVR, warned that the Brits and the Ukrainians are preparing 2 false flag scenarios in the Baltic Sea. The first one would see Ukrainian-transferred Soviet-Russian torpedoes explode near a U.S. ship there, and a supposedly malfunctioning one will then be found to implicate Russia in the alleged attack. The second, meanwhile, will involve Ukrainian-transferred Soviet-Russian mines fished out of the Baltic Sea and presented as proof of a Kremlin plot to sabotage international shipping. These perfidious provocations are being employed to manipulate Trump into escalating against Russia after Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced in mid-February that the U.S. won't extend Article 5 mutual defense guarantees to NATO's country's troops that might deploy to Ukraine. That scenario was the initial one that was planned for getting him to pull out of the talks with Putin and then double down on support for Ukraine, but his team preemptively scuttled it through Hegseth's announcement. That's why efforts are now underway to organize a false flag attack against U.S. ship in the Baltic and or frame Russia as a threat to international shipping through the fishing out of its mines there. The Baltic has already been a so-called NATO lake since even before Finland and Sweden joined NATO, given their prior shadow membership in the bloc. However, so it's unrealistic that Russia could really carry out either of these 2 operations, even if it wanted to. So here's some background on all of this that he listed here, all the links you can go check out. But to summarize it, they detail the contextual evolution of this scenario from SVR's prior warnings of the UK's intent to sabotage the Russian-US talks on Ukraine, to the motives of regional actors, Estonia and Finland, and going along with this, ending with the diplomatic impasse that defines today's state of affairs. And about that, if the U.S. doesn't coerce Ukraine into concessions that Russia demands for peace, but also doesn't wash its hands of this conflict, then it might very well double down on its involvement instead. So guys, the European front, the Ukrainian front, is still very much active and still very much in play. And don't think that Russia won't make a bunch of moves over there as well. Remember that the Club of Rome maps that I've been showing you show that Ukraine is completely engulfed by Russia along with the Baltic states. as one of the 10 kingdoms, final 10 kingdoms of the New World Order that they plan on setting up. Too bad God has other plans. Too bad for them. So that will be it for now. Wow. I think that's enough, right? I mean, I could keep going. I could go all day long reporting on different things that are going on because it's always changing constantly, rapidly. And these world leaders wouldn't be saying things like they are if they weren't serious about it, such as what Z had to say right here. And Putin has also warned the United States, under no uncertain terms, that if you get involved militarily with Israel against Iran, there's going to be repercussions. So Putin's not playing around. President Z is not playing around. Not this time. This isn't Iraq. This isn't Syria. This is Iran, and a very important part of the Belt and Road Initiative that they have going. Also, they're part of the BRICS, team of nations. So they've said on the record many times that they will not let Iran fall. China's already been shipping in military planes into Iran. I imagine Russia's been doing the same, but it just hasn't been publicized yet. And so it's on. And it's just a matter of when it all goes down. And that'll be it for now, guys. Don'tSpeakNews.com is home base for all that we do. If you'd like to support us to keep us on the air, literally keep us on the air, because we'll be off within 48 hours if we don't get these internet bills paid. Click on channel support. These links are also at the bottom of every article on the website. So there's a way to make a donation here through Stripe, right through the website. There's also PayPal. There's also Buy Me a Coffee and Cash App right down here. And those are the ways you can support the channel. Also, Rumble, BitChute, Telegram, click on that tab, and here are all the different places to find us. And then if you go to channels or subscribe, contact Johnny, this is how you can contact me over at Proton Mail, Don't Speak News at Proton Mail. And then to subscribe to the channel, just type in your email here, click on subscribe, and you're in. You'll also get one pop-up while you're perusing the website, but just one. So while you're reading an article, just to give you the opportunity to sign up if you wish. You guys want to make it easy for you, so I did. And so there you go. Over 2,500 stories you can peruse at your leisure here at don'tspeaknews.com. And that'll be it for now. I'll keep my eyes on things as always. Please keep an eye at Don't Speak News on Telegram, because that's where I put a lot of stories. I just don't get time to report on them all. I put them all over here, no matter what. I just put up a new one about the social credit system coming. That'll be a partnership between the UN and MasterCard, at least part of this new green economy, the new carbon tax economy, social credit system that they're going to base it on. It's all rolling out, and it's all over in my Telegram account. And that will be it for now, guys. God bless. Take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.